So let us begin with this homepage here. So usually whenever you go to Jira.com and go to our organization, you'll be faced with this page right here. Now this is your assigned to me page. So last software engineering class I took, we developed this UTA Marketplace Android application. So here I've recreated the project into Jira, and I've given the same sprint schedule that we have for our class, as well as the different types of tickets. And here is an important page. Here's our backlog. So everything you see here is our sprints and the associated tickets. So as you can see here, I have this first ticket I created moments ago. This was just pushing all of my UTA Marketplace code to Bitbucket. Jira and Bitbucket have solid integration with one another in that you can create a ticket here, put this label inside of your commit message, and it will automatically link the two. So for example, let me go ahead and open up this ticket. This is what a typical Jira ticket looks like, full screen. And as we can see here, so we've got a story type. I'll get more into this in just a minute. So this ticket is a configuration ticket, setup, blah, 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 description, the requirements. It's been given a high severity, 1 sprint lifetime. So that means this will be completed this same sprint, and it should not carry over into others. And in this development tab is automatically generated an association between a Bitbucket repository page. So it's linked to my commit here. And as you can see, in my message, I specified umark1 and details of what I've completed in my commit. Now let me start from scratch. We want to understand how we can create ticket items, so on and so forth. So let's go ahead and create a new ticket. Let's go over the issue types real quick. So we have epics, defects, backlog stories, and technical stories. So what each of these do essentially just demonstrate to the user what type of work they are working on. For example, a defect item. For Senior Design 1, most of y'all will be concerned with defects as this is for quality assurance purposes. You'll be polishing the existing application. That means finding all the bugs, fixing them. But for the most part, these will be considered defects. Then we have stories. Now what a story is, it's basically a feature ticket. If you were to think about like an industry-wide application, these are all of the business requirements. For example, let's just use our sponsors. They want so much to happen within this app. So for them to communicate that to us, it would be in the form of a business requirement. So all of those go inside of this story type. And this is basically just a feature ticket. If it's adding new functionality, implementation, assets, all of that would be considered a story ticket. Unless, for example, we're focusing on a more technical side of things. This is like modifying the database, adding new fields, schema. That would be more considered a technical story. One more example of this. Say, for instance, we're using all sorts of dependencies for a project. This would be considered a technical story. So let's say here, let's just create a new ticket. Now below this, we're going to go requirements. Kind of spell it out for the user. Now, most of y'all won't be creating tickets, but I, again, do want to demonstrate how this would work. From there on, we could assign this to a different user right off the bat before we even create the ticket. Now, most cases, we will not be doing this, but say, for example, you're adding a new feature on your own and you want to work on it, then at this point, you would click on the Assign to Me button. But this is just to create the ticket. Labels, if you want to add like a keyword, and then we must select the current sprint that we're working on. So as of right now, we're working on the October 11th sprint. The naming format I'm going with here is the due date. So for example, this sprint that we're working on currently ends on October 11th at 10 o'clock in the evening. So obviously we're using this sprint. Let's go ahead and select that. Don't worry too much on that. Severity. Now this is how important this ticket is. If it's a high or a critical, then this ticket must be accomplished as soon as possible. Otherwise, medium, low are kind of put off. Now this last one I'd like to explain, blocker. So if you see a ticket with a severity level of blocker, do not work on it. For here, I'm just going to say some medium. Now sprint lifetime. This is how many sprints we want this ticket to be active for. I'm going to give it the value of 1 because I want to complete it this sprint. A parent, so we don't have any parent stories. Again, I'll cover that in a minute here. So I will just leave this field blank. Now, dev OPR. This means original post responder. So this is the original developer that actually implemented the ticket. Code reviewers. Now this goes to anybody, this could be either senior design 1 or 2, that have laid eyes on the source code. The source code as far as the pull request is concerned. So say you're merging in some code, you like to get it merged into the main develop branch. Well, it has to go through this pull request process. I'll touch up on that in a minute. But if you've looked at that code in the pull request, you would add your name here. Testers. Now these are the people that have actually downloaded the code off of the pull request branch and tested it locally on their machine. Say for example, in our VR Care Connectors application that I've added functionality for the wheelchair to autonomously move around on its own. Now you can do code review. You can just pull up the pull request that I've created and look at the source code, see what is added, verify that it follows normal coding standards, but you haven't tested yet. So this, I'll show, there's a process for this. It's really easy. This would be you downloading the source code to your machine and actually running it natively. Once you do that, you would add yourself as a tester here. Now, linked issues, I'm not going to cover this in detail as this is purely optional. But say, for instance, you have one ticket that's codependent or related to another. You can link it together by using this linked issues tab. So say, for example, this relates to another one. Let's just say require project context. I'll just select that, and this will be added as a related ticket. But this is the process of creating a new work item. Go ahead and click create, and then prompt us with this little dialog box here. So let's go ahead and open that new ticket that we just created. As you can see, this is it in the full screen. You can see the linked issue here. Now this is just going to take a hyperlink back to that other ticket we were looking at, as I've specified that the two are related. Now within this ticket, it's automatically given this an ID. Let's go ahead and view the workflow. So this applies to all story feature tickets and defect tickets. It's kind of like a state machine. You create a ticket, it starts off in the open state. Now, once you've opened the ticket, you would progress it on to estimation. Now, what happens here is that I get involved. I think about it. Who should be working on this? Who should be working on that? And then I go ahead and assign that to y'all. If, for whatever reason, you are confident that you can complete the task, you can go ahead and assign it to yourself. But for the purposes of working efficiently and getting things done on time, I would suggest leaving it in estimation. But I, for the most part, would be concerned with assigning the different work items. So that is the estimation step. Now, once it's been assigned, we'll move on to the ready development stage. Once a ticket reaches this stage, you will see it within your assigned to me tasks. Let's move this over to estimation. Say I've gone over this. I say, okay, you look like you can handle this ticket and or want to. So I'll go ahead and move this to ready for development, and I will assign this to the respective person. So for example, I'm the one working on this ticket right now. I'll assign it to me. So now we can see ready for development. I'm the assignee. Go back, refresh this page. And as you can see, we have a new work task item in our inbox, so to speak. So from here, now we have to actually implement the work. So this is a fairly easy one, and this does not require modifying the source code as this is purely done within the database. Now I show this first because this is a technical way of doing things, and there is no real structure to technical stories. They're just more involved than regular feature tickets. But let me give you an example. And here is all of our tables. Now let's look at the ticket again. The requirement was access tables and add a new table with the name of test. Now, as proof of what I have just worked on, I'm going to take a screenshot. For Mac OS users is Command-Shift-4. For Windows users is Shift-Window-S. And here I'm going to add an attachment. So we can't verify or do a pull request because we're not changing the source code, but we still need to have other users see that we've done the work. There needs to be some proof, some evidence, and some potential for feedback. So here I would go ahead and click on the attach button, go ahead and upload that. So that's gone ahead and added an attachment to this ticket. Before we begin developing, we want to switch to in development to let people know that you are currently working on this item. So now that we were in development, we've added the new table. We can go here and then move this next task over to ready for testing. Now here's the workflow again, just for visualization. If for some reason you cannot handle the ticket, you feel like it's too big, you have other deadlines you have to make, reach out to me. I will take you off the ticket and I will move it back into estimation and reassign it to somebody else or yourself at a later time. Please do not go in here from in development and re-estimate it on your own. So after we finish and created a pull request of the different things we want to implement and merge into the main branch, we move it to this stage. So once you see a ticket is in this state, what you will do, you'll take it, you'll look at it. If you like what you see, make a comment and approve or deny the pull request. Touch up on that in a minute. And make sure to add your name here under code reviewers. Here, I would also have to add myself as the dev OPR, as I am the person that implemented the changes. So since I'm code reviewing my own stuff, I add my name here to this list as well. There is nothing to test, so I won't be adding anything here. Take a look at the attachment. Checks out. I see a new table called test. I will leave a comment here saying past review, and then I, as the ticket reporter, will move this on. So this was a very easy ticket, and let's do an example of a regular feature ticket. I also like to explain what the hell an epic is. So an epic, think of this like a parent story. Epics are just giant requirements that are broken up into several sub-stories. But let's go ahead and let's create an epic. Change the color scheme from dark blue to light purple. And no related issues. I'm just going to go ahead and create this. Now, we have to break this down into several sub features. So what I'm going to do now is create a story off of this ticket. Our first story is just going to be changing the background color. Parent. So here we are going to specify the epic that it references. Now I'm also going to link this issue too. So I'm going to select relates to UMark 3, and I'm going to go ahead and click on the create button. And when I do this, I can see these two things pop up automatically. This one because we've manually linked it, and all the child issues that specify this ticket as its parent. So I'm going to go ahead and go to this child issue here. And this is essentially what I'll be working on. So again, you can see the hierarchy here. We're within our project. UMark 3, which is the parent, and we have the regular feature ticket. So here I'm going to go ahead and begin implementing this. Now, how you do this, you have to create a new branch. So how we handle this usually in the enterprise world is that we create branches. We approve the pull request, which means I want to push to this branch and I want to merge it back into the develop main branch. That'll go through approval process. Once everything's approved and fine and dandy, then you'll be able to merge. And that is our typical work process here. So I'm going to go ahead and create a new branch, University Market, because that's a repository that we're pointing to right now. Now we also have these different types for repositories. All stories, all technical stories, and all epics are considered to be a feature. Now, if you're working on a defect ticket, your type here would be bug fix. Say, for example, we have our final product deployed, and the nursing students are able to test our program, but they notice a bug, and we have to release a fix almost instantly. So we usually won't have a Jira story for that, but we would specify a new branch, merge it in just like the regular pull request process, and label it as a hot fix. Now, we won't really ever be using this release branch, as everything we'll be doing is debug, and please never worry about this other type right here. So I'm going to specify feature, and develop is our main branch, and Bitbucket is going to create that new branch for me, and I can begin my work. So let's go ahead and check it out. So source tree, please download that if you haven't already. It's a very important tool. It's also Atlassian integrated, so you have access to all their services there, and it's super easy, super simple. So I'm just going to click on this checkout button in source tree. Allow website to access source tree. I'll always allow that. In source tree, we have our main develop branch, this pointed to origin develop. We also have our feature branch. Now this is associated with that ticket we've just created. It's given the same name. Do not customize these, please. Let it automatically generate it. So you know you are selected on that current branch because it's highlighted. For example, if I want to switch back to develop, it'll highlight that. This would go away. Sometimes you may not see your remote repository here. All you have to do is click on this fetch button. And what this will do is pull and update all of your remote branches, or until you click on this pull button. The difference between fetching and pulling is that fetch takes all the current remote branches and it updates them. Pull does the same thing, but it also updates your code. Now we are checked out to the correct branch and we can start to make our changes. This is what the app currently looks like. The default color has blue. Now again, if we look at the task at the ticket we're working on, go back to our work item, we can see that, okay, we want to change the colors.xml file. Okay, so let's go ahead and locate where that is. Now let's also change the secondary or the primary variant. I can see the purple already. It looks great. I think we are all set and then moving forward and creating our pull request. So that is all done. Now I've finished all my work and I want to commit my changes. So let's go to file status. This is going to be your friend. Now this is going to contain everything that you've changed. Now within file status, you might find junk. Say for example, I've worked on only this file, but some built files and some other temporary directories and other files that somehow made it through the .getignore file show up in this list. This is where you'd take some manual intervention and deselect them as you stage them, or traditionally speaking, add them to your commit. So I'm going to stage this file. I'm going to select it. On Windows, there's a stage button, but on Mac, click on the three dots and click on stage, move it up to this queue, and all of the stage files will be added to your commit whenever you commit. In my commit message, make sure to specify umark for, and then after the vertical bar, just type in details of what you changed. And I'll also click this button. I'll push immediately to my branch. If you see that this says origin/develop, uncheck this box and make sure that you switch over to the appropriate branch. We will push to our umark for branch that's created for us. Go ahead and click on the commit button. Looks like it did. Let's go ahead and check. Our branch is updated. Great. So when we get to this point, okay, we've updated our own local branch, but we want to change the source code. How do we do that? So on this page, simply click on the Create Pull Request button. What this will do, I'll just say, so specify the source branch of what you want to merge in, and our destination branch. This will always be developed. In description, if you feel like your ticket is very difficult to test, then make sure to specify that here. I require that for all technical stories. Again, nothing should be this easy. Just for the purposes of demonstrating what this means, I'll do that here. So don't click this button. We like to keep all of our branches existent in the case that something gets corrupted and we have to manually reconstruct, develop. Create pull request. And once I've done this, this page is going to be seen the most whenever you're testing something. Okay, looks like we have got this all set up. So I'm going to demonstrate on my other machine, and I want to play as a different user, namely a tester. In the case that we do run across a few C++ files, it's never been easier to inspect it with a text editor such as Visual Studio Code and use this extension called GetLens. So what this does is basically you would select a line of code and it'll tell you exactly the commit in your source code that is referencing. From that commit hash, we can find its Bitbucket pull request and also its associated Jira ticket. So let's go ahead and let's open up our source code real quick. So for right now, I'm in the main develop branch. I have no sense of that color change ticket that we've just accomplished on my other machine. As you can see, selecting any line in the file, you'll see the original author and the name of the ticket. We need to make sure that we include the correct commit message with our tickets so that finding and locating the original Jira ticket item has never been made easier than just select on the line you want to see and given all that information. So click on this connect to Bitbucket. Enter your Bitbucket username, password, open commit on Bitbucket. It'll ask you if you want to open an external website. Go ahead and say yes, open. Takes you right to the commit hash, which may be part of a pull request. Pretty cool stuff. So now we're going to go ahead and begin the testing process. So how you're going to do this, you're going to click on the pull request under develop, go to commits, and select the topmost commit hash number. Now this is assorted in descending order from the most recently committed item to the earliest committed one. So let's go ahead and go back to the command line. You can use command prompt, you can use git bash, whatever floats your boat really. For example, I'll be using PowerShell. Now, make sure your directory has been changed to your current repository. So by default, it may be your home directory. It's going to change back there. I know it's my repo because you can see these details right here. First and foremost, when you're testing another work item off of a pull request, you must make sure that you are currently on the develop branch and that your working tree is clean and that you're also on the latest source code. Let's say, for example, I want a test branch. Let's say you have some uncommitted code changes. You're on a different branch. Of course, it's not going to be named test. It's going to be clean-15. So what you have to do is git status, and this will tell you all of your outstanding files that have not been committed yet. So in our case, we have just this one file. It's test.txt. Oh, shoot. Well, I want to test this ticket, but I already have all these outstanding things. How you handle this is that you use git stash. And what this is that it temporarily stores your files away so that you can re-access them later. We want to make sure that our working tree is clean, so we'll go ahead and git stash that file. Now how we do this is we go ahead and just do -a, and this is going to add all the current outstanding files that have yet to be committed. And that will take all the stuff in our git status and stash it away. How you undo this is easy as git stash pop, and this will place your files back where they were, for example test.txt, and we would have access to that file yet again. But let's go ahead and restash. And let's go ahead and pull, get the latest developed. Now that I've verified that my working tree is clean, I do that by running git status. I'm on the develop branch and I've git pulled. Now I am ready to test. So let's go back to this page and let's copy the very top commit hash number. We're going to go ahead and run this command. So git merge, paste that in there, --no-commit, --no-ff. So what this is telling Git is not to commit or fast forward what we're merging in. This is only a temporary merge that we're soon to revert. So you should see a message that says something like this: automatic merge went well, stopping before committing, and that is all good. So now we can begin our testing. Now we can see this purple color has replaced the blue. Let's check the original ticket to make sure all the requirements are in check. Change the colors file, modify the default color from dark blue to light purple. It looks all right to me. I'm going to approve this pull request. So let's go ahead and switch back to regular develop, git merge --abort. So this will go back to the original develop, and all of those changes that you've temporarily merged in are gone. Now at this point, you can go ahead and git stash pop. And it'll put all of your temporary files, this includes test.txt, back where they belong. And now you can switch back over to your branch. I'm going to go back to that pull request. I'm going to open it up. Go here. Now back to the pull request page. You cannot see this on my profile as I am the one submitting the pull request, but if you do not own the current pull request, you'll see another button here that says needs work. This is where you'd identify that this pull request is not ready to be merged back into develop. There is still more work to be done. But say for instance, I want this to be a little brighter. So click on needs work and specify that in your comment here. Say testing failed, purple is not light enough. And this would indicate to the developer and say, okay, hey, you need to go back in, change a few things. It does not look right. We go back to the ticket and change the status from ready for testing back to ready for development. The description here is testing failed. So let's do that. Assume it failed. I've redeveloped it. I've made it a lighter purple. So ready for testing. All that was fine. Go back in. I like what I see. That was the right shaded purple. I'll click on this approve button. You're all good. You've finished testing. Just make sure that you include your name under this testers box right here. Now, last thing I'd like to mention, during this process, we may require multiple approvals before any pull request gets merged in. That is, we need one approval from Senior Design 2 and one approval from Senior Design 1. Since we are more concerned of testing with Senior Design 1, y'all will be more focused on working on defect tickets, that is rounding out the application, taking care of all the bugs. But in the process of that, you'll have to submit your work, and each team will be responsible of checking and making sure that it is quality it is working just fine, testing it, and you will require an approval from either team. Now, this may increase in the case that the quality of a project diminishes, which I sincerely doubt. You will never be clicking on this merge button. I probably will be the only person to be able to do that, merge it back into source code. Now, once those two conditions were satisfied, your work is officially completed. Now, at this stage, you would go ahead, go back to your original ticket, do this by just clicking on this text right here, brings you straight to the work item, checks out, this is my ticket, I'm the reporter, and I'll just mark this as complete. So there you go, we've gone ahead, we've created a technical story, we've made a ticket, submitted a pull request, tested it, and code reviewed it. And this should definitely give you guys an idea as far as the Jira process goes. Thank you for watching. If you have any questions, please reach out to me. I'll see what I can do for you. And thank you again for watching.